else is your King Life? It's about WX Turk, and we know what's gonna be in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Anything that was part of the original Final Fantasy VII will be in the remake. Now, since we already know what we're gonna see in the remake, or possibly things we're gonna see until we get confirmation otherwise, these are gonna be These are gonna be the characters. I wouldn't say places, because places don't really matter that much. Final Fantasy's locations don't really matter that much. Like, besides Benor and Crisis Core gets destroyed, so it doesn't show up in Final Fantasy VII because it's been destroyed. But since it's no longer canon, locations aren't going to really matter. This video is going to be about what characters. Now pay attention to the wordplay. Characters. Which characters that are not going to be part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I'm going to go ahead with the list. Vincent Valentine's father, Professor Grimoire Valentine. Even though he was a student of Professor Gas, and he's actually the one who actually created the soldier program, because Deep Ground were the original soldier program. Then, Shinra abandoned that program because, Deep Ground was way too ruthless, Couldn't be made to be military heroes. And then they got the traditional soldiers. So we're not going to see any ties of not only Vincent Valentine's father, Professor Grimoire, but the original soldier army known as the Deep Ground Army. So Deep Ground is not going to have any continuity. So Professor Grimoire will not be there. Will not be in this canon. Neither would Vice the Accumulate, Nero the Sable, or anyone in Deep Ground, period. So, anyone who is a specifically Dirge Cerberus character, and even on the good guys' side, like, Shalua won't be in this, or Shulk will be in this new canon. Now, what could that possibly mean when I say they couldn't? That means they're not part of the new canon. So, we don't know exactly where the soldier program came from, which hopefully Tetsuo Norma has good foresight to tell us, and don't do what Tabata did, because Tabata, no offense, Tabata, was very vague with his characters, vague with the Niflheim Empire, vague with the Niflheim higher-ups, very vague with everything he did. So we never got to see any type of thing in Final Fantasy 15, to be quite honest, besides Arden and the Bros and Noctis, and a little bit of Luna Freya. But nonetheless, let's hope Tetsuo Norma has a way of explaining where the soldier program comes from. Now, still on the soldier side, we're not gonna be seeing and Angeal, so we're probably gonna skip it over where Zack gets the Buster Sword. So there's not gonna be a second class soldier Zack. It'll be first class soldier Zack in the flashback cutscenes, giving the sword to Cloud. And maybe the game might start that way. Maybe the game actually might start that way. Maybe the Final Fantasy VII Remake will start where Cloud gets Zack's Buster Sword, and then it'll say 5 years later, and then it'll show the train mission of Avalanche. Hopefully this will be a detail. Maybe there'll be some cutscenes explaining how he joined Avalanche and everything. So, but nonetheless, Angeal and Genesis will no longer exist. So Zack will be in first class soldier all the time. So second class soldier Zack won't be in this either, in this new canon. So and Genesis won't be in it, because Genesis really, his parts are only in Dirge Cerberus and Crisis Core. He has no effect on anything that happened in the original Final Fantasy VII. Besides that uncanon now uncanon, where he confronts Sephiroth and tells Sephiroth about his origins. Now, it's going to be sponged, since this is a remake of the original game, which makes sense. It's going to be sponged, so, since Genesis plays no longer in the canon of Final Fantasy VII, they're not going to be... Genesis is no longer canon. And that will also go with Angel as well. Angel is no longer canon as well in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And if Angel's not canon, since Professor Hollander is actually Angel's father, Professor Hollander will not be. Even though Professor Hollander is Hojo's rival. But it's not going to be put in the canon. So there's not going to be a Professor Hollander. And this will also go into also the director of Soldier, Lazard, which in my fan theory he is Cloud's father. So, you know, I mean that's at least what I came up with fan theory. But it don't matter anyways, because even if he is, it's still not canon. So that's not gonna be Lazard is not gonna be canon. So there's no director of Soldier. Well, maybe if there is, it'd be Rufus Shinra. Because Rufus Shinra no longer has a brother in this canon. It'd be just President Shinra and Rufus Shinra. Because, remember, Lazard was actually Rufus's brother that came from another mother. No pun intended, but no, that's no longer going to be canon. That's out of this canon. So we're not going to be seeing Lazard. So it'll be just Rufus Shinra and President Shinra. And yeah. So who else? And we already got Angel. We already got Genesis. They're no longer canon. Vice the Accumulate, no longer canon. And enough said about that, because I said anybody who's part of the Deep Ground Army, or should I say the very first soldier army that got trapped underground, will no longer be in the new canon. So the only soldiers that are truly soldiers, because Cloud doesn't really classify as soldiers. Cloud got the enhancements right after he beat Sephiroth in Nibelheim. You know, because Hojo thought he would be able to surpass Zack. In fact, Hojo will still make Cloud into a Sephiroth clone, like he was in the Final Fantasy VII original, which I kind of like that a lot better, because he was supposed to be a clone of Sephiroth. That's what Hojo intended Cloud to be after studying and knowing that Cloud is the one who beat Sephiroth. You know. So with that in mind, you know, there's not going to be no Vice the Accumulate, Nero the Sable, Rosa the Crimson, Azul the Cerulean. And this will also include people from before Crisis 2. So the only soldiers we know that are actual soldiers is Zack and Sephiroth. Zack and Sephiroth will be the only soldiers. Cloud will be a soldier first class in memory, in head. And that's if they start, that's if they start Cloud off, you know, thinking he's Zack. And that's why he's arrogant like he is. And like even in the trailer. You know. But if they start him remembering who Zack is early on, then it'll be clear that Cloud would know he was not a first class soldier. So, but yes, the only first class soldiers that exist in this new canon will be Zack and Sephiroth and Cloud in memory. So yeah, those are the only three characters that be soldiers. And since there's not gonna be no before Crisis characters, the only Turks that will ever exist in this new canon will be Sung, Reno, Rude, and Vincent in the past. Will be the only in the past Vincent will be the only Turks that exist in this new canon. And for Shinra's scientists, the only scientists that would exist is Professor Gas, Professor Hojo, Lucretia Crescent, because if they're going to go by the original game, it's not Lucretia. In the original game, it was Lucretia. I don't care what you say. You can go ahead and argue with me all day about that. I'm just going to tell you that it's Lucretia. So, you know, Lucretia, let me go back. Professor Hojo, Professor Gas, Lucretia Crescent would be the only scientists in the Final Fantasy VII new canon. So we're not going to be seeing those. I guess you can call Alfanya Aerith Gainsborough's real mother a scientist, because not only she was married to Professor Gas, but she kind of helped made Aerith the perfect Cetra child, you know, just a little bit, you know. So I guess Alfondia is another scientist too, and that's in there. And the only Turks I said: Sung, Reno, Rude. Oh yeah, I forgot Elena. Elena will be there. Sorry, forget, because Elena just joins the Turks in Final Fantasy VII. I forgot Elena. I feel so bad. I'm sorry, but she's so easily forgettable. But no, Elena would actually be one of the Turks, because she just joins the Turks in the original Final Fantasy VII, and it says when Norman said he's going to keep everything from the original game, he's going to anything from the original game will be in the remake. So yes, Elena becomes a new Turk, and Vincent is a past Turk. So you'll be seeing Vincent Valentine in the Turk suit and the shorter haircut when he's interacting with Lucretia, if they keep that in there, which actually would make sense if they did, because it was in the original during the Waterfall Cave. So yes, those are the only Turks that be canon. So there won't be no Before Crisis Turks, because they were only in Before Crisis or in the time of Crisis Core. And even in Dirge of Cerberus, where there's brief mention of Vel, the first director of the Turks, he's no longer going to be part of this canon. So Vel will no bit longer exist, or the other Turks with weapon-sounding names, because they were named because the other Turks were named. Okay, the other Turks were named by the weapons they used, but they'll no longer be there. There will no longer be there. So Shalua Ryuai will no longer be part of the new canon, because again, no deep ground, no reason for her to go find her sister and go through pretty much a whole lot of messed up stuff. Even her body got messed up, like she lost a leg, an eye, and an arm to go find, Shell, because the deep ground wanted to keep her. So, since deep ground ain't gonna exist, there's no use for Shalua, and that sucks, because I actually like Shalua as a character. I actually liked her, but yet Shalua no longer exists anymore. So, and Reeve will still be in the Shinra suit and tux thing, because Dirge of Cerberus does not happen in this new canon. It's cut from this canon, so we're not going to be seeing the WRO, because if there's no deep ground, there's no WRO. There's no WRO if there's no deep ground. And we don't even need to talk about Genesis when he's older, because if he doesn't exist in Crisis Core, there's no way he would exist in Dirge of Cerberus. So we don't even need to go into that. But the WRO is going to be sponged from this new canon too. Anything that was not in the original Final Fantasy VII will be the ones that will be the things that get cut from the game, and be changed. So those things are no longer canon anymore. Now, if you still want to play a Final Fantasy VII that has those things as canon, you can go ahead and play the PlayStation 1 copies, PC copy on the PS4, or download it on the PS Vita, in which the PS Vita is actually just the PlayStation 1 version, just one you could take with you. But yeah, if you still want to play the ones that are canon to the other complete compilation, that'd be it. Because Tetsuya Nomura said anything that's because he's going to change it around. I think what he's planning to do is he's probably going to make some new canon compilations with this that are probably going to be way better than these ones. But we don't know yet. But those are going to be the things that are not part of the Final Fantasy. Those are going to be the characters that are not part of the new Final Fantasy canon. And I'm going a little bit over time, so may the crystal be with you. And yep, those are the things you don't. Those are the things you're not going to be looking forward to in the new Final Fantasy VII canon. So may the crystal be with you.